And we are back after 2 weeks, was it?
Yes. And
Oh,
some of us
good
had to get
lord.
sick.
Yeah,
We
after
missed like 4 weeks this year so far. You might as well put the podcast on IR.
we'd be
Literally.
we'd be right along
Hey.
with like 80% of the NFL at this point.
The difference between us and IR is we are back, unlike Aaron Rodgers, who is officially out for the
Ooh.
season.
Ooh.
Yeah, well, I mean, he wasn't coming back unless, like, what's the point? If you're not making the playoffs, what's the point?
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
There's
I
no
mean, he's
point.
come to terms with it. He's come to the realization that it's not happening. No reason to risk further injury.
Nah, just get 100%. Come back next year if you want to.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Better option, safer option.
But as
And
for
speak-
the 2 weeks we missed, one was just for Thanksgiving. Everybody take some time with their families and what have you.
Mhm.
And the second week was not planned. The Saturday after Thanksgiving, three of us here, myself, Paulo, and Will, went to the LSU and Texas A&M game, where a few of us caught, I don't know what the heck, we got something. We were out for almost a full week, I'd say.
Sounds about right.
Paulo was the lucky one who didn't get anything.
Well, I ain't got nothing to do with it.
I'd be the second luckiest since I didn't go.
But we're back. Should we start off by mentioning, Chris, the college playoffs shenanigans?
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Let's dive into this, folks. So, college football playoffs have been all set and ready to go. It's going to be an exciting matchup. So, the final four ended up being Washington, Michigan, Texas, and Alabama.
Not
Yes,
in that
I
order,
did say
though.
Alabama. Of course, not in that order. And yes, I did say Alabama. And you're probably wondering, whoa, wait a minute. What happened to Florida State? Well, let's dive into that, shall we? Some reason, the stupid college football playoff committee thought that they were not good enough compared to Bama, who beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, which to me is a load of garbage because if you win out, go undefeated, win your conference championship, you should be a shoo-in for the championship game. The playoff spot. And Florida State got screwed over. So that was very head scratching right there, if you ask me.
If you ask me, it makes sense for Texas to be in at number 3. You know, they beat Bama earlier on this year. They deserve that spot. But because of some of the teams that Bama has struggled against, let's not forget, what was it? Was it Central Florida, I believe?
Yes.
That they struggled
think it was.
against 17 to what? I think 3 or 17,
I think it was
10, something like that.
17-10, I believe. Yeah.
Not to mention the few times this past year Bama has almost lost to a team that they should have demolished. But
And we can point to one particular team, looking at you, Auburn.
Auburn, they won that game because of a mistake that one of the players in Auburn made and sheer luck on a Hail Mary on 4th down with no time on the clock.
Not to mention on that very same play, Auburn's absolute stupidity of only rushing 2 guys at the quarterback, giving Jalen Milroe, I think that's his name,
Yes.
all the time in the world to throw that lucky Hail Mary touchdown.
Yeah.
Oof. I would not want to be an Auburn Tigers fan right now.
Now, the playoff committee says that, like, the main reason for not including Florida State is because they lost their starting quarterback. Travis, I believe, is his last name.
Jordan Travis, yes.
As I don't know if everybody's seen, but I'm not gonna find that clip because that's a nasty injury where that man's leg bent the wrong way.
Let's spare the public of that image.
But even without him, the committee thought that they weren't as good of a team. Yet, for the ACC championship, they beat a top 15 team in the country with their backup quarterback. So why does it matter? They're undefeated. One of 2 teams that are still undefeated.
Exactly. This one particular rule with the college football committee of how they select teams for their playoff format is kind of discriminating to a degree. And this is just one of these scenarios where, and I'm not calling it quote for quote, but this is basically the shortened version of it. Is that if a player is out for a certain team, it will have impacts on how the team performs as a whole. Therefore, impacts their chances of their playoff spot, which to me is kind of stupid and discriminates against, in this case, Florida State, who lost their starting quarterback, who could have been in the Heisman conversation had he not broke his leg. So I kind of feel for Florida State fans. They really, really got screwed over this time around. It's boy,
Yeah,
I
it
feel bad
sucks.
for them, but the thing they're trying to avoid, and we have to keep in mind as well, is that TCU was shooting last year. TCU played Georgia in the
Right.
championship and got absolutely demolished. So they're trying to avoid. They're trying to draw in viewers. They're trying to make money off of these games, right? So when you push in a team like Florida State, yes, they continue to go undefeated with a backup, but that backup in this Final Four isn't going to do much against a team like Michigan. Like, we have to be honest, and we have to look at it from that perspective as well.
that may
Which
be
they're
true,
just
but
trying to avoid the whole TCU scandal. Once again, TCU did great last year, but when you put them up against an actual elite team that has a history of being dominating, which Michigan does, which is who they would have played in the first round, they weren't going to do any. They weren't going to do anything.
which I can kind of understand that. But in the case of TCU last year, look who they were in the top four with. They made it to the championship. They deserve to be there. However, Georgia is just in another level, or was last year.
Yeah, Georgia's a beast, and this year they I wouldn't say they're like a monster, but they were hard to beat. Like they showed vulnerability, and Bama obviously proved that in the SEC championship game. But there've been other instances with Georgia, like with the Auburn game they played earlier this year, and then I think briefly Tennessee. I don't remember that quote for quote, but they've had their moments where they just haven't looked as powerful of a team as they were the year before. So yeah, I can see where you're going with that.
Yeah, honestly though, I think even with their quarterback gone, I think Florida State should have been in there, and that's saying something coming from an LSU fan. After the past 2
Yeah,
years, what they've did to us on the first game of the season, 2 years in a row, y'all are making me feel bad for them.
yeah. Here's a quick funny story in regards to the college football playoff. So earlier this off season, the college football committee was gathering themselves as they always do to discuss the potential 12 team format that ironically was supposed to happen this year, but two particular uh conference commissioners said, "Oh no, wait, we're not ready for this. Let's push it to next season." Want to take a guess who those two were? I'll give you a hint. It ain't the SEC, and it most certainly ain't the Big 12. So it was the Big 10 and the ACC, and sadly, so the ACC team that got screwed over was they basically got screwed over by their own commissioner, which I think is kind of funny in an ironic way. So if and I'm not gonna say that's the main cause. I mean, obviously they still got screwed over. That's the end of the line there. But at the same time, you just can't help but laugh that their own commissioner shot themselves in the foot. They could have had they could have had Florida State play if this year was a 12-team format instead of a 14 format. So there
Yeah.
you have it.
Well, with that out of the way, though, let's move on to NFL Week 14. Oh boy, not long
Yes.
left. Thursday
Only
night.
what?
Oh god, here we go again with the bad matchups.
Ugh.
Patriots Steelers.
Atrocious Thursday night game that has been put on Amazon Prime. For those not missing out.
Yeah, Bailey
terrible.
Zappi versus Mitchell Trubisky.
Brother, there is a list this week, and I mean, we're going to hit all the games this week, but there's just a list of backups. The backups back up, right? Third strings playing third strings, and it's just people getting signed last second just to be put on the active roster for a week. Talking about you, Joe Flacco, just to be demoted back to the practice squad. And this
Just retire, man.
this Thursday matchup just is it even worth watching?
It's boy, yeah, you're right. Well, this game is just not worth watching. Yeah, I think both teams could actually struggle to get 3 points in this matchup.
Well, I mean, let's keep in mind that New England couldn't score anything against Los Angeles last week,
And
and
Los Angeles
won
only
6 to
scored
0.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're putting this on Thursday night. Like,
Mm.
it's just not it, man.
I think Stevenson's gonna be out too. Ramondre Stevenson,
Yep.
isn't he out?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, no
Yep.
Stevenson, no.
Nope.
I mean, Mac Jones has been third stringed, so I guess they've got their starter. But no Stevenson. You've got no, Pickett. I forgot who I was talking about. I just mentioned Trubisky. But I
Deontay
mean, I
Johnson.
feel like those are. What about Deontay Johnson?
Oh wait, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. Carry on.
Oh, I thought you were saying no Deontay Johnson. I was like, what the hell? Who's playing?
No, yep, nope.
Nobody.
Ignore me.
The fans are
Okay.
playing. The fans are actually going to get to
Yeah.
suit up and
I mean,
play
this
this
definitely,
great team.
definitely like a 2 touchdown cap on this game. Maybe just
Like
across the
total?
board, like combined. Definitely a
Uh,
defensive game.
I'm just gonna
Yes.
say, I'm not gonna spend much time with this one. The Steelers.
Yep.
I'll say the Steelers are gonna win only because you still have at least Najee, you got Jalen Warren in the backfield, you got Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Mitchell Trubisky, who started for the Bears and won some games. So I mean, you've got a veteran with some experience versus Bailey Zappi, who's just. Well, obviously he hasn't done much because he hasn't been a starter until they sit Mac Jones the last couple of seasons where they've sat him. So,
Yeah.
and the defense, it's also the Steelers defense who, they've had their games, where they show brightness. So I think Pittsburgh wins, but hell, I think they win by a field goal,
It's not
maybe
much.
even a safety somehow. I don't 2 points if possible. Like I don't know. I don't have much faith in this one.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with you. Well, I got Steelers as well by at least 3. It wouldn't shock me if the minimum score on both sides is less than 10. That's how low faith I have in this game. There really ain't much to talk about. These two just flat out suck. Like the Patriots they suck the most, so that's why I'm giving the edge to the Steelers because they just are slightly better, but they're still not great.
Yeah, I'm taking the Steelers as well. The Steelers are not a good team, but they at least like find a way to win games like almost like half the time. What's their record right now? Like 6-5.
7-5.
7-5?
Oh,
Yeah, so
somehow.
they somehow find a way to win more than half their games.
They're
And
in
I
the
mean,
playoff hunt somehow.
Yeah, and the Patriots, like after benching Mac Jones, they don't look any better with Bailey Zappi. They really don't. And then Stevenson is like a big part of what little offense you do have. So I mean,
They actually look worse. I mean, you went out and put up 0 points.
yeah,
0. Shut out
Yeah.
6. You needed a touchdown. All you had to do was score 1 touchdown and kick the PAT, and you could have won.
Mhm.
You couldn't.
yeah. But I mean, the Steelers are probably still gonna win. Like at least you've got decent. I mean, you've got Pickens, Johnson, Freiermuth, and you've still got Najee, Jalen Warren. So as long as Trubisky like just does like fine, then they should win that game. He doesn't even have to do like much of anything.
He just has to be average.
Yeah, just be semi-accurate and get it to the receivers, and you should win the game.
Well, I believe we're all in agreement on the Steelers with this one.
Mhm.
Belichick, you're on the hot seat.
Better
Yeah,
be.
I mean, it better be a flaming barbecue pit as a hot seat.
Moving on to the 12 o'clock games for Sunday. First up, Saints Panthers. Good lord,
We better not fumble this game.
if we lose this game, that's it. Then just they might as well not play a game for the rest of the season and save everybody the heartbreak because this is ridiculous.
And I can't
Yeah.
stress this enough. We have to get rid of that coaching staff because they are garbage. I mean, for most of us who went and saw the game from last week against the Lions, when we went down 21-0, it was booze galore. Like everybody, all Saints fans were booing. Like it was, oh, like that's not what you want to see from your own fan base. Like what was funny was every time Derek Carr stepped on the field, he got booed, and when he stepped off the field, there was cheers. So it just seems like the fan base has turned against him and against the team entirely. It's getting ugly down here, folks. And if the Saints don't make a change by the end of this season, we're screwed. At least through next season, because and honestly, if we find a way to lose to the Panthers, fire Dennis Allen on the spot. I don't even let him get back in the locker room. Just fire him. I'm fed up with this guy.
Yeah, pull a Nick Folk when he missed the 5 field goals in Tampa. On the field, gone.
Yeah, just get rid of him because he's clearly lost the locker room. He's clearly lost the fan base, and I hate the fact that Mickey Loomis is not making excuses. He's denying everything right now, saying everything's just fine. Like, what do you see as fine about this team? We're losing games we should win. We had the easiest schedule in the
That
NFL.
statement alone is the picture of the dog sitting in the room
This
that's
is
on
fine.
fire.
Yeah, literally.
It's exactly what that is.
Yeah, it's so sad that we do, like, everyone was pretty much in agreement that we had the easiest schedule out of any team this year, and we still are below 500. Like, what kind of, like, how can you sit there and just say that, like, this is okay? Like, we should
Right.
be like, we should only have like 2 losses on the season. Like, if you think about like our team
Yeah.
stacked up against other teams, we just can't win games.
It is like every game has become a struggle to even win, especially on offense. Yeah, it's
No,
become
not to
such
win. It's become a struggle to score.
With that, yeah, I was getting to that. It's also become a struggle to score. It's like I dread every time the offense is on the field. It's like, oh, easy 3 and out because that's who we are now. We're not this high-powered offense that we used to look at or used to be back in with the Drew Brees, Sean Payton days. Now we're just struggling to freaking move past the 50-yard line. That's how bad we've become.
And what's
it's just-
crazy is that we can get within, like, we'll still lose, but we can get within like 1 touchdown to like the Jaguars or the Lions, but then we can't beat like the Bucks. Like, what's going on?
Right. We'll get blown out by bad teams or just lose to bad teams. It's either one. And then with good teams, we get on a slow start, find a way to come back, but still fall short. This team is just too damn inconsistent. We have got to fire this coaching staff ASAP.
Yeah.
So
I'll take the Saints in this matchup, but I mean, my confidence, even against like the worst team in the league, my confidence is an all-time low.
same. Like I'm still picking the Saints as well. I think they beat them the first time back in week 2, but it wasn't by much. But at the same time, we have with uncertain injuries at quarterback right now. I don't know. Like the
We do
Panthers
have
may try
Kamara
to.
back, who wasn't there for that other game though.
That is true.
I think.
No, he was there last week.
Oh yeah.
What we talked about last week? I'm talking about for the Panthers game.
Oh.
When we played them.
That is
I
true.
thought you were referring to last week. I'm like, no, he was
No.
there. He ran into somebody on the sideline and broke that man's
I
leg.
remember. Yeah.
But for this game, I'm keeping it low because I have no faith in the offense. No matter how bad Carolina is, I'm keeping it low scoring. Saints by 3.
Yeah, I have to say one thing.
What?
in regards to the coaching staff stuff, I want
Go ahead.
to point out something from this past game against the Lions. Toward the end of the game, we were only down by 5 points. They were in field goal range and decided to go for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal. Why the heck would you do that?
It's
How much time was left on the clock?
Over 2.5 minutes. And they had timeouts.
see, that just comes down to
Well,
coaching
I mean,
again.
if we would have kicked that field goal, we would have still been down. And then you gotta
No, wait, hear me out here. Our defense for the majority of the second half was holding Detroit. Yeah, they scored, 21 on us in the first quarter. But after
Yeah.
that, it wasn't a whole lot till the end of the game. Kick the field goal, trust your defense is going to keep doing what they've been doing all game for the most part, and try to get down there and kick another field goal to win by 1 point. Don't risk it on a 4th down play.
That's big trust though. Like if we would have kicked that field goal and still been down, we wouldn't have had to keep them at the end zone. We would have had to keep them like basically out of the 40-yard line. Like that's a lot of trust in the defense. Because if they would have came back and kicked a field goal, we would have still needed a touchdown. So like I
And we're
get
talking
it,
about,
but
That's what I'm saying, though. You got to
and we're all
trust the defense. They had multiple 3-and-outs in the 4th quarter. Multiple. And
yeah.
we just
and but
couldn't produce touchdowns. But they didn't take field goals on that last one and decided to go for it on 4th down and lost it.
yeah, at the same time we were also playing. Granted, the Saints defense played relatively better in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like late first half, second half, all the way through second half. But at the same time, we're dealing with a really good Lions offense, who has been like top 5, I believe, in the NFL in scoring and offensive production. So, but I don't know. I mean, if they had found a way to recover the onside kick, if they had made the field goal to get closer within range, then I would have a lot more hope that we could have pulled the upset.
I
But
wouldn't have even went for an onside kick. I would have went with a full kickoff and tried to hold them back as far as I could. As
that's fair.
our defense was doing just fine up until that point.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me.
another thing though is if you would have kicked that field goal, we would have still been down. And not only do you have to keep them out the end zone, not only do you have to keep them out of field goal range, they could, if they just get a couple first downs running the ball, they could have just ran out the clock as well.
Yeah, because we were struggling to stop the run all game long. Like they were just running right through us. I think they had 150 yards plus in that entire game, like of rushing wise, that is. So, yeah, like just trying to stop the run has also been a difficult thing for the Saints defense. And
It's true, but like I have more faith in our defense stopping the other team than I do in our offense scoring a touchdown.
well, that's a fair point. Yeah. So,
But
with that being said,
I'm gonna do like y'all. I'm gonna take the Saints in this one by 3. I don't think it's gonna be much more than that, if at all. And it's a little more realistic when you think about the fact that Jameis Winston might be playing instead of Derek Carr.
I hate to say I was not usually a fan of Jameis Winston, but honestly, I'd rather see him play this week over Derek Carr because Derek Carr, for one, has to heal, and second off, he's just not getting it done. It's just not getting it done. I mean, he won't get it done either, but at least he gives us a slight edge, but it's barely an edge.
And for the love of God, in the first round or second round next year in the draft, please draft a quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah, I
For the
mean, at
love
this
of
rate, we
God.
should have a relatively high draft pick. Might as well use it on a QB.
For those of you at home that
Yeah.
don't know this, the Saints have not taken a quarterback in the first couple of rounds since Archie Manning.
That was like back in the freaking late
70s,
early
I think.
80s, I think. Late 70s, early 80s, somewhere around that time. Yeah, it's been a long time. I think we're due for another one. So Saints, keep your eyes on Jay and Daniels, please.
Y'all know what I said earlier last week. If they actually somehow do manage to get Jaden Daniels, I'm shaving my head.
You heard that, folks.
Will, your
are you
thoughts on
still
this
with
one?
us?
Yeah, he's been quiet
Will's
over
been
there.
sitting here through my
Will's
my
waiting.
ramblings. Will clocked out.
No, it's just no, I'm here. I'm here, just on mute. You know, special guest appearance from the child. Um, no, I don't have much to say. Obviously, since I don't get to watch these games, I just get to listen to you guys and your grievances with Dennis Allen and the atrocity that's going over there.
Yeah, it's
but
awful.
but from watching the score, just like over the weekend, over Sunday as they played, it did look like it started off rough for them, and I think they should be able to beat Carolina. It is Carolina; they only have one win. Not a lot of hope. I mean, they fired Frank Wright, and they're still not winning. So I mean, there's more internal issues. I feel like with Carolina than y'all have. Y'all have very similar issues. I think maybe a field goal. I don't know. I kind of almost want to revert back to the Thursday night game of maybe a safety 2 points somehow. Who knows?
I don't think they could get a safety.
I don't know.
I don't think
At,
so
at this
either.
point, it kind of feels like the Thursday night game. I don't want to say that, but maybe Winton can do something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
what
Mr.
happens
30
if
for
Winton
30.
goes out there and just balls out and drops a
Hey, if he
50
balls
burger on
out,
Carolina?
Hey, if he balls out, he balls out. But I mean, once again, we're talking about Winton.
Yes.
We're talking
Winton
about
we
30 for
trust.
30. That's what we're talking about here. So yeah, maybe a field goal. I hope a field goal, so you guys can be happy. Uh, don't want you depressed and unalive yourselves. We have more plans to take care of. So
Yes.
I'm just saying this now. If for whatever reason the Saints do not make coaching changes in the offseason, I'm going to Houston.
Oh no, we have to. There's no there's no way. Right? There's no way.
If we don't, I'm gone. That's it.
Like the only way that we can't make coaching changes is if we win out the season, make the playoffs. That's the only way.
But unfortunately, I don't think that's not in y'all's future at this time.
No,
I don't think so either.
But
think-
if that's what it takes, if it takes y'all losing out to move the crew to Houston, I mean, I'm just gonna have to visit a voodoo
Well,
witch.
I didn't say
And we're gonna
move to
take care of that.
Houston
Oh, no,
yet.
no, no,
I
we're-
said I was going to the Texans.
No, y'all are fully moving to Houston. That's how
you
far we're
didn't
taking
specifically
this.
say that. You said
You
go to
did.
Shush,
Houston.
You said
shush.
going to Houston, so I'm bringing everyone over.
Especially if I get a job transfer.
Doing it.
Well, move on to the next one because we've been going
Just
for
took
almost
30
30
minutes on 2
minutes.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, Buccaneers Falcons. Yeesh.
Speak of the
Baker
devil.
Mayfield versus is it Desmond Ritter?
Desmond Ritter's
Mm.
back under center.
Second
Ugh.
NFC South matchup for the week.
I don't exactly know who to choose because both teams, if you look at their records, are nearly even. So, but once again, it is a divisional game. It could go either way. Offensively, I like the Buccaneers better
Same.
because Baker Mayfield has actually had a really good season, surprisingly, and his connection with Mike Evans has been quite nice. Meanwhile, on the Falcons side of things, their defense is pretty decent for the most part. I'm not going to say they're great, but they have upgraded significantly this season compared to like the last 2 seasons they've had. So, but I think I'm leaning towards Bucks the most because of their offense. I think their offense just might be a bit too much for the Falcons to handle. I think it'll be a close game regardless because it is a divisional matchup and both teams are relatively even. But I'm going to take the Buccaneers by 3.
They
I
have
think I'll
played each
take the
other.
Bucks as well.
They have
Oh,
played
good.
each other once this year, right?
Yeah, I think the Falcons
Yes,
won.
they have.
Yeah, they played Atlanta back on October 22nd. What was that week? 2, 4, 6. Week 6, 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Bucks because I believe the Falcons won last time, and I don't think the Bucks get swept by the Falcons. The Bucks run defense is pretty good, and Atlanta's main Like their best thing on offense is their run game. So if the Bucks can shut that
Yeah.
down and Baker Mayfield can have a good game, like him and Mike Evans have been having a good connection for like half the season. And if that continues, then I think the Bucks maybe squeak out a win this time.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
last time they only lost by 3, right? They didn't lose, they lost by a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with the way their season has progressed, because they've lost some close games. I mean, they went, touchdown for touchdown with Houston. A few, some weeks back. Just last month, the first game of the month, and their offense looks good. Like you said, Mike Evans, 10th season of 1,000 yards. So I mean, that's 10 straight seasons from the time he's into the league till now. Rashad White has been kind of sneaky quiet. He's been real sneaky on the running back side. I mean, 640 yards on the seasons and 5 touchdowns. So he's
Yeah.
been real consistent. No one's really talking about him. He's doing, just sneaky work. He's not real big at topics, but I mean, he's getting yards, he's getting carries, he's doing some receiving out of the backfield. I mean, there's games where he's having 5, 6, 7 catches, right? So I think I think they sneak out a win, even though it is in Atlanta. I think they win by a touchdown. I think there's the Bucks are ready for another win here.
Yeah. So in regards to the NFC South, the way everything's been lining up, the closest is obviously Falcons, as they're currently sitting on top of everybody, but right behind is the Bucks and Saints. I hate to say it, and this really makes me want to vomit, but I really think Falcons are winning the division this year, just because Saints are too inconsistent. They're falling apart. Buccaneers, they have their moments, but their defense holds them down. Falcons have just been lucky. So, yeah, I think the Falcons are going to win the South this year, unfortunately. And I hate to say that. It makes me want to puke. Ugh.
With this one, I'm not sure. Like, I like the Bucks offense more, but the Falcons defense is going to be what decides the game, I think. I'll roll with the Bucks for now. But I do want to say this. I don't think it matters who goes to the playoffs from the NFC South. They're one and done.
Oh, easily. I think whoever squares off against the winner of the South, they're going to easily destroy
Yeah, because you know who
that
would
team.
currently be the matchup for whoever goes for the NFC South?
Who?
The Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, they're screwed.
Yeah. Cowboys are gonna wipe anyone from NFC South.
Yeah. Yeah, no way.
All right, let's move on to the next one here, which personally I don't think should be much of a decision. Rams Ravens.
Oh yeah. Ravens easily. Rams just don't have it together. They're struggling. Ravens are just poised to just continuing their dominance so far into the season after a pretty rough start. But Ravens all day. There's really not much to say about this one. Lamar Jackson's probably going to shred that Rams defense up. The Rams offense just has its moments of good times, but just cannot get it together. They're also been hit by injuries left and right.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's not going to be a pretty sight for the Rams. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens won by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yes, I think I'm not gonna. So I'm gonna say the Ravens are gonna win. I don't think it's by 2 touchdowns. I think this is gonna be a test for the Ravens defense. You said they've been banged up. I mean, but they have Cup. You got Puka, Tyler Higbee, Kyron Williams is back, who is just having an insane year. Like I could imagine. I don't doubt that he would be, if not the first, the second rushing leader and touchdowns right behind McCaffrey, if not ahead of McCaffrey, based on how he started the season and these 2 games since he's been back is just insane. And the yardage he's getting on the ground, and now they're using it out of the backfield for receiving as well. I mean, his first week back, he had 46 yards on the ground. Not only that, but 2 receiving touchdowns on top of it.
Yeah,
I
that was
think this
crazy.
offense. I mean, this offense is dangerous, and I think people underestimate them. Like you said, Chris, there was a lot of injuries. Cup was
Yeah.
out. Kyron Williams was out. The backup to Kyron was out. You were down to your third string, Darrell Henderson. Then you were down to Royce Freeman. I mean, you were down bad, but the offense still put up points. You have a rookie in Puka who is just no one expected him to do what he is doing. To
He's
step
better
up
than
and be
Cup,
wide
in my
receiver
opinion, at this
one.
point.
Cup's injury prone, unfortunately, but Cup is still putting up numbers. I mean, you had a game, his first game back, Cup put up 100 yards, Puka put up close to 100, and they both had a touchdown. Like, you have weapons, so I don't think it's 2 touchdowns. I honestly think it's a field goal to maybe a touchdown. I think they'll keep it close, but it'll be like a true test for this Ravens defense on if and who they can handle from the NFC. As far as this offense go, the Rams defense, on the other hand, is not. I don't doubt that they'll get points put on them, but I just think that that offense is high powered, that they'll be able to keep in step with touchdown for touchdown or at least field goals to keep it close. They're not going to get blown out by any means.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Ravens, and I don't think they're gonna blow out the Rams necessarily, but it does give me cause to pause because like look what the Ravens did to the second best offense in the league in the Lions. Like the
Yeah, that's what
Lions
I'm
put up
saying.
what, like 3 points, 6 points on the Ravens.
6 points. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like when you think about the Rams offense, I see what you're saying, and I could easily see it being like maybe a touchdown difference, 10-point difference, and the Rams still putting up points. But I'm kind of holding my breath to see if the Rams are gonna suffer the same fate as the Lions, and who else kind of like flubbed against them, the Chargers.
Seahawks only put up 3.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Seahawks too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I will see, but I think the Ravens win regardless.
Yeah, I mean the Ravens have had some rough games. The 3 losses, they lost to the Colts 22-19. That's unexpected, right? And then you got them losing to Cleveland, but that was just a very defensive Cleveland game. That's what won them there. And then lost to the Steelers, which division rivals, right? That's always an issue that we talk about. They lost by a touchdown to even the
Yeah.
Steelers. So I mean, that defense has its flaws, obviously. So it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be a game. I think it's gonna be a good game for them to determine where they truly stand in the AFC for playoffs. With the way that offense plays.
But yeah, I think we're pretty much all in agreement that the Ravens will likely win. Whether it's for me, it's blowout. The rest of y'all kind of close, but we shall see.
Next up, Lions Bears. I think the
Now,
Lions should win this one, but we've seen them struggle before.
yep, and 2 weeks ago, I believe it was. No,
Thanksgiving.
scratch that. I think, yeah.
Thanksgiving Day.
Wait, was it really?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so about 2 weeks ago, they struggled against their division rival Green Bay, in which we all thought that should be a pretty good win for the Lions to complete the sweep, but they somehow lost to them. I mean, granted, they lost like 3 fumbles that game, so not the best way. And then they struggled against the Saints to put them. They struggled to put the Saints away last week. Not great either, but they still won the game. So, and then the last previous matchup with the Bears, they also struggled. They were down early, but they managed to pull off a comeback and win the game in the end. But this could be another dogfight between these two teams. Like, they're division rivals, and if they repeat what they did last time, then it wouldn't surprise me if this game is close.
Yeah.
But I'm taking the Lions by the minimum of 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna say just a touchdown.
Yeah, I'll take the Lions as well. I don't think it's gonna be like a blowout or anything because the Bears
No.
the Bears are a scrappy team, especially when their players are healthy and all that. But I think the Lions are just a a level above the Bears, and so even if it's a struggle, they'll probably get the win.
Yeah, and I mean, last time they played them, it was in Detroit. They won by a touchdown, so nothing spectacular. I think it was 21-16 was the score. So I mean, nothing
Yeah.
or nothing crazy, right? So they probably win again by a touchdown. Lions are they're kind of like Buffalo in a way. Like when
Up
they
and
look
down.
good, they look great. Yeah, they look good, they look great, man. You're like, yeah, they got it, and then they have these games against these teams, and you're just like, what are they? What are they doing? Where are the, they take vacation? It's crazy to see. They should be beating some of these teams by touchdowns, and like you said, they're beating them by maybe a touchdown, not even a full touchdown, right? 5 points.
Yeah.
So it's concerning, especially the way the NFC is set up and the teams that are going to be in the playoffs that are these strong contenders. It's concerning for them to see if they're even going to get past the first round. Like they're on track to be in the playoffs, but are they even going to get past round one with the way they're playing at the moment?
Yeah. I do know that the Lions have suffered some significant injuries to their O line, so maybe that has a factor into how they've been playing offensively. But at the same time, it hasn't impacted too much. I mean, they're still able to score, and they still got a lot of playmakers, and they're still doing things okay. It just seems like turnovers have also been a problem for the Lions as well. Last week they didn't have any turnovers, which was a good sign for them, but they also played against a really pretty stout Saints defense. Whereas the week before that, when they played Green Bay, they just fumbled left and right. Like, they just could not get the job done. Like they just could not keep the ball on their side of the field. So it just comes down to them playing clean and and also being healthy, and that's how they pretty much dominate, is playing clean and being healthy. So
Okay. Let's see here. We all said Lions, right?
yes.
Yes.
Moving on to one that I think is one that's hard for me to pick. Colts Bengals.
Yes, Jake Browning versus Gardner Minshew. Another game of backups.
I mean,
Yes. Yes.
But granted, both these backups, at least, unlike the Thursday night game, both of these backups they look good. They're actually putting up points for their team. They're winning
Yeah.
games.
They both
So
just won, yeah.
yeah. And I mean Gardner, he's been playing since I think it was week 5 or 6. So I mean,
Yeah.
almost half the season himself has he been playing. And I mean they just came off a really good game. I mean Jake coming off of an overtime win. You know, I think this will actually be a good game and a good game for playoffs as well.
Yeah.
Bengals 6-6, Indy 7-5.
Yeah,
They're still in the hunt. Houston's still in the hunt at 7-5. So I mean, that makes good for late season playoff runs.
Oh, definitely. Like the Colts have to win this game to keep their playoff hopes alive, as well as the Bengals, who are in the hunt. Now, well, I honestly think the Bengals will find a way to get in. Probably not. I had to be honest there. But at the same time, they're still in the hunt, so anything's possible, and you never know what's going to happen within the next 3 to 4 weeks as the season comes to a close. With teams trying to get their seedings for the playoffs all set up and done. But for this matchup in particular, should be a very good matchup battle between backups. Um, I'm gonna favor the Colts in this one because while the Bengals probably have a better offensive playmakers, I think the Colts just have a little bit more. They've been playing with their backup way longer than the Bengals have, and I think they just might just get the job done. And I'm gonna have the Colts by 3.
I think I might have to take the Colts as well. And the only reason why I'm gonna pick the Colts, like so seemingly easy, is that I just don't like Jake Browning had a really good game, but I don't know enough about Jake Browning to think that he's gonna do
Yeah.
it again. I
Yeah, that's my
just
thing too.
like if he has another 300-yard like if he has another 300-yard game against the Colts here and they can squeak out a win, then maybe like the week after, like I'll be tempted to pick the Bengals, but I don't know. Like I know who Gardner Minshew is, and I know what he can do, and I know like what the Colts have done with this roster. So I think I gotta take the Colts in this one, even though I expect it to be close.
I would love for the Bengals to prove me wrong in this and get a win, but I don't think they're going to. Simply for the fact that the Colts have a better defense than they do, I think.
Yeah.
And like you said, Browning, he's been okay. He's been good for the most part. But they've had longer to work with their backup, like you said, with the Colts. A better defense, in my opinion. It kind of just stacks up a little bit against the Bengals, so I'm picking the Colts by 3.
Yeah, I also think the Colts win. Like Paula brought up, knowing what Gardner can do. I mean, Gardner was Jacksonville's backup, and before they drafted Lawrence, and he gave that AFC South a run for their money. I mean, this is at the time where Houston was actually making consistent playoffs. They had that defense and still gave Houston a run for their money with that Jacksonville offense when he did play for them, and he's showing he still has it. Yes, he's a backup. That's for the Colts, but he's still showing that he can run an offense. He can throw the ball. I mean, he himself is putting up 300-yard games, 2 touchdown games, right? Then you got running backs. You got Jonathan Taylor. You got Zach Moss back there. Michael Pittman. Uh, is out at wideout. I mean, he's got weapons. Jake's got weapons as well. I mean, Mixon, uh, Jamar, Boyd, Higgins, like they both have weapons, but I just think, like y'all said, the defense is just a little bit more well-rounded. Even though they lost, was Leonard? What was his last name?
Shaq Leonard
Shaq Leonard.
on the
They
Eagles.
let him go. Yeah, I still think there's still a well-rounded defense to be able to go in
One thing we also have to
Cincinnati
remember
and beat them.
with the Colts defense is I believe he is the leading tackler for the NFL. Zaire Franklin is on that defensive line.
Yeah. They let him go, I think, because he started having mental health issues, from what I heard. I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but
Talking about the
but
guy
yeah, they let him
Chris
go.
Talk about Leonard.
Oh, is that the guy? I got him mixed up. My bad.
Yeah, Zaire Franklin's the dude I'm talking about, and I'm pretty sure he's the leading tackler for the NFL right now.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but I think the Colts will win by a touchdown. Like Paul said, man, if Browning could find a rhythm like he did last week, like he needs to get settled in a little early. That game started off very rough for them, but if he can get settled in early, which I think he'll be able to after the way they ended that one, and he can throw for another 300 yards and get that connection with Jamar going early, I think it'll end up being a really good game, just like it was last week, and it'd be nice for Houston if Jake could take them out, but I give them that slight advantage over the Bengals.
We're all in agreement then that it should be Colts. Let's
Yes.
move on to Jaguars against the Browns. Jaguars most likely without
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, and are they going to be without Christian Kirk as well?
Yes.
Yes.
I figured, but I wasn't sure. With that, I gotta give the Browns this one.
Who is Thompson Robinson coming back? Who's quarterback for the Browns?
No one at the moment. I looked this up earlier in my spare time. Flacco is back on the practice squad, and they have yet to designate a starter. And I mean, it's only Wednesday. Wednesday usually starts practice, so there's no one at the moment. They're just kind of winging it.
I don't like that strategy.
Yeah,
They
That
just
makes
haven't
sense.
picked anyone yet.
That makes this hard for me because you got like C.J. Beathard versus potentially Thompson Robinson
Or Joe
or
Flacco.
Joe Flacco. Where's PJ Walker? Is he still hurt?
Sure.
I have no
I
update on
I
PJ actually.
Hmm.
I think last I heard he's still injured, so he might still be another week or two. Um, yeah, yes, it says right here he's still day to day, so but he's not likely to play this week.
Hmm.
Uh,
I guess I'll take the Browns then, sort of regardless who their quarterback is, because Lawrence is doubtful, even though he hasn't been ruled out. Like he's probably not going to play.
I just
And
don't
that
see him playing.
Yeah, he's in a
yeah,
boot right
that
now.
that Browns defense against a backup quarterback is just like that's a tall order to put a backup in there and tell him to beat that Browns defense. So I
Yeah,
think I got to take the Browns.
Yep.
yeah, I agree. I think the Browns defense is going to be too much for the Jaguars to handle, even with a backup quarterback. And pending who plays quarterback for the Browns, they do have some solid offensive pieces to move the ball against the Jaguars defense, which can be good at times, but they're not great. So, but again, it just depends who's playing quarterback. But I think I trust the Browns more than the Jaguars in this scenario. So I'll take the Browns by 3.
So it looks like Thompson did return to practice today, but he's still in concussion protocol. And
How's he
then
at practice in
Flacco,
concussion protocol? Can't you not practice?
this is 2 hours ago. This was literally earlier today when this happened. Limited participants, so I mean they can only do so much, kind of like they monitor him. So they haven't named him nor Flacco as the starter, and PJ is still out with his injury issues.
Hmm.
So even with that, it's hard because that the Browns defense is gonna hold up, and you're missing Christian Kirk, you're missing Lawrence, C.J. Beathard. Who knew the last time he played besides taking over for Lawrence in the fourth. Uh,
Right.
I think I don't think it's there. I think he can take that offense and lead them a full 4 quarters. So I
I
think the
mean,
Browns win.
the dude was probably flipping hamburgers at McDonald's for crying out loud. Who knows?
No, he's been in the league. He's been a backup. He's started a few games here and there over the seasons, but spent the majority of his time as a backup.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I do think the Browns win. I think they win by a field goal. I don't think it'll be anything spectacular.
All right. The next one we got up is Texans and Jets, and if you ask me, the Texans went up against a pretty good defense last week in the Broncos, and still were able to come out with the win, I believe.
Yes, they were 22-16.
And the Jets' offense is nowhere near on the same caliber as the Texans, so give me CJ and the boys on this one.
It's in shambles. The Jets offense is in shambles. They don't know what they're doing with their quarterbacks right now.
So Zach Wilson is slated to start for the Jets this week.
Oh, you mean he actually
Texans
agreed
win.
I
that he
did
could be the starter?
see it. I did see it earlier that he is slated to be the starter for the week. As now they've said that, like we talked about earlier, Rodgers is out for the season. So Robert Sala's best thing he can come up with at the moment is just let Zach Wilson start.
You might as well.
I mean, you let Tim
Yeah.
Boyle, he started in 2 games,
You gave
pick
it a shot.
six,
Yeah.
and let him go. You let him go after game 2. So,
Uh,
looks like for the Jets, remainder of the season will be Zach Wilson. Sorry, New York, not really. That's all lies. I don't care how you feel.
yeah.
The Jets' offense is a lot like my father, nowhere to be found. Still looking for that milk, obviously.
That's
Dang.
crazy.
It's crazy, I know.
Ouch.
Same way. But no, I mean, it's, I don't want to put too much into it. Houston's doing, man, D'Amico's doing a lot of stuff right. Tank Dell unfortunately went out with a severe leg fracture last week, so he's out for the remainder of the season. But I mean, still got Nico, Noah Brown, Schultz is slated to come back this week. Pierce
Robert
looked
Woods.
good finally.
Yeah.
Pierce looked really good. He took over the role last week from Singletary, kind of took it back.
Yeah.
So I mean, this Houston offense, and not only the offense, the defense. Shout out to your LSU boy over there, Derek Stingley with 2
Yes, sir.
INTs. That makes
Yeah,
3
let's
in the
go.
last 4 games. Or 4 in the last 3 games, or vice versa. So I mean that defense is looking stout. I mean the Broncos were hot; they were on a 6-game winning streak, and Houston shut it down. So I had
Yeah.
had to say some things in the past, go against them, but last week I went for them. 2 weeks ago on the podcast went for them, and they won, but they're going to go in New York and they're going to win. Like, no doubt in my mind, CJ's still going to do what he does. He's putting up another 300-yard game. He's going to continue to be the passing leader for the league, even as a rookie, like he is right now. So we're looking good. I don't say they're going up too much. I say a touchdown, because that Jets defense is still stout. They still have playmakers. Even though we did sign Amos, who was a safety for him this year, took him away, put him on our team, put him back there because Jimmy Ward is once again hurt.
Yep.
Did not practice today, so. But the way the season's going, I think they have all they need right now to make playoffs. How far they go, we'll see. But they have everything. They have everything to make it there, at least.
Well, I'll definitely be rooting for the Texans in the playoffs if they somehow make it, which I really think they will. I got a good gut feeling about this.
Yeah.
So, in regards to this game, yeah, I'm definitely taking the Texans on this one. But I am wary of the Jets' defense. They can be opportunistic and they're stout as well. Sadly, they can't do everything as their record provens. Their offense is just one big. There's, their offense is so bad. They could probably throw me out there. I might just put up the same results. So, but with Zach Wilson back in the picture, the Jets offense is just sitting. They ain't gonna do nothing against that Texans defense. So I'm gonna take the Texans by at least 7.
Yeah, I gotta take the Texans as well. The Jets just like the defense is still pretty good. But the offense doesn't scare anybody. Meanwhile, the Texans have been just like they've been continuing to just play at a high level, and I don't think they are gonna stumble against the Jets of all teams.
Zach Wilson is really like the toxic ex that the girl keeps going back to.
Here's a list of teams that I just don't see the Jets winning. Obviously the Texans for one. The local high school team here in New Orleans, and maybe you're the junior varsity team of that same local high school team. That's just how bad they are.
Yeah. I don't think they would beat anyone from the college playoffs.
Oh, you know what? I don't think they would even beat Vanderbilt. That's how bad the Jets are.
I don't know about that one. But let's move on to the next one. We got Vikings Raiders. Personally, I'm picking the Vikings for this one. I don't think they're gonna be as bad as they have been the past couple weeks. And the Raiders are kind of, I don't know what to make of the Raiders anymore.
The Raiders, after they fired their coach, I saw a little glimpse of hope in them where they could be a good football team.
Yeah, and then it
But
got one pumped by a shotgun.
oh yeah. After that, things just haven't gone well enough. It's just the Raiders are just much like the Saints. They're inconsistent, and they just don't have a good enough offense. And then the defense is definitely worse than the Saints' defense, but at the same time,
There's
it's
a reason we have the same record.
Yeah, which is kind of scary. You think about it. So with that in mind, the Vikings just have a way more complete offense, despite Josh Dobbs having a really rough week the week before. So I don't expect Josh Dobbs to have another bad week like that. I think he's gonna rip up this Raiders defense with ease. I think I got the Vikings winning by at least 10.
Vikings by 7 for me.
I think I'll agree with Chris. I think by 10 because you know who's back this week. It's Justin Jefferson.
Ah,
All right.
yes,
I
Jay Jefferson.
did not know that.
Yes, yeah. So they sat him against Denver. They took their bye, and they even before that they said that he wasn't going to play until after the bye, and also depending on their record, what was the rush to bring him back? So, I mean, here it is. They're 6-6. They're in the hunt for the playoffs. You brought in Josh Dobbs, who shows he can make plays. You know, they can go out and get wins. Uh, and Jettis is, he's back. So having given him a playmaker on top of Hawkinson, on top of Jordan Addison, Alexander Madison in the backfield. I mean, KJ Osborne, when he's good, he's good. I mean, this offense has the potential to finish out this season with a few more wins. They play the Raiders, the Bengals. That should be an additional win next week. I mean, the schedule looks good for them, all except facing the Lions a week apart from each other. They go Lions, Packers, Lions to finish the season.
Oh, so they got
That's rough.
3 straight division games then.
3 straight. So I mean, they
Ooh.
have. If they can win this week, next week, that puts them at 8-9. Can they make the cut in the NFC? It's possible. I think to further that, they'd have to win one of those
You
games
mean
against the Lions.
8
But
and 6?
how do you figure, bud?
You said 8 and 9. No, it'd be 8 and 6.
Yes, if they can win this weekend, next week, and then just say they lose Lions, Packers, Lions, that puts them at 8-9 for the season. Like I said,
Pay attention, Jose.
correcting me. But that's their potential. At 8-9, they have the potential to make the playoffs. That doesn't discount them. It depends on how the NFC falls. But I think they do go in there, and I think they beat the Raiders by at least 10. Yes, Jimmy G is back this week. He's practicing. We'll see come game time if he is actually the starter or if it does end up still being Aiden O'Connell. That's still up in the air. But even with Jimmy G, I think they still go in there and win. I don't think, prior to G getting hurt, it's not like they were doing much anyways.
Yeah, I agree.
What game is this? I was not here for the
Oh my
beginning.
God.
Vikings and Raiders.
Vikings Raiders. He was eating
Come on,
Chick-fil-A
man.
once
Very
again.
interesting. No, I wish.
You boy eating your Chick-fil-A again.
What did y'all pick? Who were y'all's pick?
Vikings.
Vikings.
Okay, well, that's gonna
Bruh.
be different, but yeah, it's the Vikings.
Well, you thought we were going to pick the Raiders?
Hey, I don't know. Maybe
Give us a million
never
reasons
know.
why we should pick the Raiders.
they got Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams.
Yeah, well,
That ain't enough of a reason.
no.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Josh Dobbs threw 4 picks last time. That's a reason.
I mean, that's
I
fair.
don't think he's going to do
It was
that
only
again.
3.
I don't think he's
Yeah, I
gonna
don't
do
think
That was
that.
so
only
either.
3.
That's only 3.
Let's
Yeah,
move
I don't
on,
think
though.
so either.
We got Seahawks and Niners. Another bird will die this week.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no. The gauntlet of birds.
Yes. I think the Niners will complete the sweep this time. And I just don't see the Seahawks coming anywhere close to the Niners. I mean, the last time they played the Niners, they got their butts kicked. And it was a beatdown. They just didn't come close
Yeah,
to the Niners level.
The Seahawks did good against the Cowboys. They're not going to do the same against the 49ers.
No, I mean, look what the Niners did to the Eagles last week. And the Eagles were like the best team in the NFC up until they faced the Niners. And the Niners just kicked their butt all game long. So if the Niners could do that to the Eagles, yeah, the Seahawks stand no chance.
The
So-
Seesaws. What,
The
where are
Seesaws.
the Seesaws out of? That's a new team.
Yes, yes.
Seesaw Tattle.
Ah,
That's where they're from.
well, that's a good one.
Yeah, the 49ers last week are the equivalent of like the Hulk smacking Loki around.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say they were the meme of you want what he's having.
Uh,
But yeah, I mean, they faced the Seahawks 2 weeks ago in Seattle and beat them 31-13. So I don't doubt that they don't come home and put up at least 40 on them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
just touchdown after touchdown after touchdown last week, and it was like, man, even late in the corners where I think Debo unintentionally scored there at the end. I don't think he meant to, but I mean, he went and scored a fourth touchdown for Purdy, so I don't think it 3 touchdowns for Debo on the day. Like
Yeah.
with 5 minutes and 19 seconds remaining, he still ends up scoring another one. Like
yeah.
I think we can expect a repeat of what they did to the Eagles this week. I don't think anything
Right.
changes because the defense isn't anything comparable to what Philly has. So
Shall I
it's
throw out the
bloodbath.
agenda? Shall I throw out the agenda that they will win by 4 touchdowns?
That seems
This
a
one,
bit much.
this one, I don't know, because I mean, this one,
This one it
maybe.
might be realistic. Let's be
I think they
honest.
win by 2, at least 2 for sure. They're just that offense is red hot since getting Debo back, Christian's full health. Brock's got that confidence back. You can say that swag, that it factor back. I mean, he's just balling out at the moment, and just it helps to have those kind of playmakers. But if you can't get the ball to Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, if you don't have a good quarterback back there and who can somewhat throw, I don't think you have the same connections like he has right now. I don't think they're going to win those kind of games like that. They're not putting up 42 points against supposedly the top defense in the league.
I don't
Yeah,
even
they
think
They're
they're
just
the top defense in the league.
in Philly.
Nah.
Not after last week.
49ers got it.
Yeah, not after last week.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they were that before last week, to be honest. Philly's defense has been looking vulnerable.
Well, people are finding out. But then again, that's why Philly is doing what they're doing. I mean, like we said, they picked up Shaq Leonard this week. So they know they're vulnerable. But Philly's going to pick up people, and just like these other teams should be doing, Houston, who is doing it, and they're putting people in those places. Hey, we noticed for a week over here, go grab somebody, and they're doing that. And they're not just grabbing anybody, they're grabbing playmakers, big name people you know and hear about on a week in and week out basis.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they needed, honestly, because Philly's linebacker core is the worst part of their defense, the weakest part. So go pick up a veteran, big name linebacker. Yeah, I think the Niners win this game.
Yeah.
Like the Seahawks, I was impressed with the Seahawks against the Cowboys because I thought the Cowboys were gonna beat them down, and then the Seahawks almost won that game. But the Niners are the best team in football right now. They just are.
Easily,
And I
hands
think
down.
they're about to beat the Seahawks by maybe 2 touchdowns, maybe 3.
Say 3, may as well say 4.
Nah,
Yes.
that's too far.
I'm
They didn't even
I'm-
beat the Bucks by 4.
Let's move
I'm
on
gonna go
here.
4.
Oh god. Let's move on to Bills Chiefs. I don't see the
Here
Bills.
we go.
After a bye week, I think the Bills are going to bounce back. I think they're going to beat the Chiefs.
I was trying to figure out where you were going with
Somewhat of a
that
hot
one.
Take, honestly.
I don't know. I don't know if
I
that's
feel
a
like
hot
it's-
take or not, though.
I mean, the Bills haven't beat the Chiefs in how long? Like they play them well, but
Well, at the
I-
same time, the Chiefs don't really have good receivers anymore. Like that.
I don't
have to-
see the Chiefs improving off of last week. I think they're going to struggle with that a little bit more.
do you think we're
Yeah,
gonna
I
get a good
agree.
version of the Bills though? Because the Bills have been dog water in some weeks this
Mhm.
season.
Not only that, it's back at home. So last week was in Lambeau, and I think the whole group knows that playing in Lambeau has a tendency to be hard. That stadium, that atmosphere, the weather last week. I mean, that's hard to play in Lambeau for anybody, But now you come back home to Kansas City, it's a home field advantage for them. I get the whole wide receiver thing, but I mean, even throughout the season, they've made it work, right? They beat the Dolphins. Yeah, that was mutual territory. They beat the Raiders, not saying much. The Chargers, the Broncos, the Vikings, the Jets. I mean, they're still winning. They're still scoring.
A lot of these
Yeah.
teams are that they've beaten are teams with wide receivers too, like the Dolphins. You got the Raiders. I mean, they've got Devontae Adams in them. Like some of these teams that they've beaten do have what they don't, and they'll still win.
I mean, even the Broncos, they had Sutton. It was just
Look
that
at
first
the
game was
look at
close. That
the
second game was rough, but
yeah, look at the Chiefs Eagles game. Like the Eagles they got AJ Brown and the defense and all that, and
still only beat them by 4.
yeah.
That's
So,
fair.
I don't know.
I think with the Chiefs being at home, I might just favor the Chiefs in this matchup. I mean, I'm tempted to go with the Bills, but at the same time, the Chiefs have just been owning the Bills the last couple years, both the regular season and playoffs. And with the Bills' recent struggles, this is gonna be a must-win game for the Bills, but for the Chiefs, they gotta win this to get back on track. So I think this is gonna be the Chiefs' bounce-back game after an embarrassing loss to the Packers last week. So I'm gonna take the Chiefs, but only by 3.
I'm gonna take the Chiefs as well. Yeah, the Chiefs have played the Bills well, and the Bills have played the Chiefs well, but the Chiefs have just come out on top. In this, if you want to call it a rivalry, the last couple of years, or what was supposed to be a rivalry. But I kind of feel the way I felt when the Bengals played the Bills, where I'm like, this is gonna be a good game. But
Oh yeah,
I never felt like the Bills are gonna win it though. Like I always knew that the Bengals trump the Bills. Like that's just how it is. That's just what
yeah,
happens. And I don't know. I can't. If the Chiefs lose twice in a row, then that would be kind of a shock to me.
yeah. And it might hurt their chances at like a first round bye or even a higher playoff seeding for that matter.
I'm still sticking with my gut on this one. I'm picking the Bills.
All right.
I think they played good against the Eagles for the most part. And going into a bye week, I think they work a little bit on their issues that they had, and I think they'll be better for it. But
Okay.
let's move on here to the next game. We have
Did Will
Broncos
pick?
Chargers.
I did not, but
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
he
we're
did.
just moving on.
yeah,
Well, I thought he
F
did
me,
pick.
right? Yeah, no. Just like my father, just forget about me.
Jesus. I thought you
No,
did pick
Go
when
ahead.
you were talking
no,
about him.
no. Even after all that, I think I'm gonna agree with Jose. Actually, I do think the
Okay.
Bills. I think they go in there. That Philly game was close. Yeah, the Chiefs are gonna come out looking for revenge, or not really revenge, but that bounce back game. But I think the Bills go in there, like you said, after their past history with them losing in overtime, losing in playoffs, other regular season games. I think they come in and just. I think this is the game Josh Allen starts firing on all cylinders. We're getting closer to playoffs. Hopefully they start putting it together with that little break. But I don't think they could come in and put up, get a win by 2 touchdowns. I think it's more of you're looking at 3 to 7 points really,
Yep.
a field goal to a touchdown if that. Because this Chiefs team, yeah, they're 8-4, but man, they're struggling. They're struggling offensively, defensively. Like both sides of the ball are hurting. They're struggling. They're finding ways to win certain games, but it's still rough. They're not the Chiefs that you saw last year, 2 years ago. So I think
Yeah.
the Bills are going to get the best of them in this one. I think they're going to best them and finally get that win over them
And
that Josh has been looking for.
something that I wanted to point out that I forgot about a minute ago, in their last few games that they have lost, it's been against pretty good teams, and it hasn't been a blowout. They have been fighting, especially against the Eagles.
Yeah, that's true. They gave the Eagles a big fight, and that led to overtime, but still lost in overtime.
Yeah, but we know how Josh Allen is in overtime.
Yeah, the man is currently winless in his entire career as an NFL starter. 0-6, I believe now. He's not good in overtime.
But
So is that our first disagreement?
Mhm.
I think
think
so.
Yeah. Let's go to Broncos Chargers now.
Hmm,
I don't know with this one, man.
I do. I
If
do.
the Chargers
I
could
do.
only put up 6 on the Patriots, I think the Broncos should win this one.
See, yeah, I'm actually gonna go with the Broncos in this matchup. I think Sean Payton has, and I hate to admit this, being my petty self, Sean Payton has turned this Broncos team around. He got him out of the grave that we all put him in early this season after he went 1-5, and next thing you know, he won 4 or 5 straight before running to the Texans. I think this is going to be the Broncos' bounce back game against the Chargers because the Chargers they're finding ways to look more stinkier. And I mean, how do you barely put up points against a really bad Patriots team? I will never understand that.
Yes,
Like
the
you have
Patriots defense is good, but you're supposed to be an elite offense in this league.
but the thing is, if the Saints, who suck on offense, could put up 34 and blank them out, you would think the Chargers do the same thing, but they didn't. So that's where it's like very concerning. So I'm taking the Broncos. I think they just found themselves more put together than the Chargers right now. I think the Chargers are just a little bit discombobulated, somewhat, and the Chargers just much like the Saints need a change in coaching. That's for sure. And I actually said this earlier this or at least before the season started, that the Chargers probably should have looked into getting a new head coach, but they didn't. And now there's probably more reason to get rid of that coach now. So, but I'm taking the Broncos by 3.
Yeah, I got to take the Broncos as well. The Chargers are just such an odd team because for the majority of the season they were an elite offense with no defense, and as soon as their defense buckled down like 2 or 3 weeks ago, the offense just where to go.
Right. That
And the Broncos, they've just continued to. I mean, they stumbled a little bit against Houston, but I mean, Houston's another really good team this year. The Broncos have maybe not continuing to ascend, but they've gone up in they're sort of, I don't know, they're a good, not great team, but they can get wins, and they can, they've got some pretty good players all around. The defense has stepped up, so I don't know. I think the Broncos are gonna surprise everyone with their win to loss ratio at the end of the year.
Also, Paulo,
I think it's
I know what the
41.
issue is with the Chargers. They're
Hmm.
they're taking all the stat points and dumping them into one or the other. They don't know how to separate them evenly. It's all going to offense or it's all going to defense.
Yep, seems like it.
yeah, sounds about right. Will.
Yeah, I think the Broncos go in there, even in Los Angeles, and go in there and come out with the win. Because, I mean, yeah, Houston's defense has really stepped up and played, and they showed it, like not allowing late game touchdowns, coming away with takeaways like they did. But that Denver offense is still, I mean, they won 6 in a row for a reason. Both sides of the ball were playing like they should. And like you said, 6 points is what the Chargers put up against New England. Like, it's not anything to be proud of. That's terrible. Like, close to the bottom team of the league on both divisions, and that's all you could put up. Yes, you're missing Mike Williams, but you still have Keenan Allen and Austin
You've been
Eckler.
missing Mike Williams. Like,
Yeah, and Quentin Johnson. Like, you have playmakers, so what's your excuse?
I don't know if you should like put that as a positive for them.
yeah, I don't know
That
if you should put
man,
Johnston in the playmaker category right
as
now. He's been
out
dropped
of
the
Like,
past.
out of
you're
all
harping
the
on the boy.
other almost all of the other rookies taken like after him, they all have more yards. Each of them have at least 400 yards, and
Hey,
he
but
barely
yeah,
has
and they do.
two.
You're right. But the Chargers also have two big name receivers on their team, in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Yeah.
You know,
Even
and Gerald
without
Everett. You
Johnston.
even have a solid tight end. Not that Gerald Everett's a top, he's a top 10 tight end, but he's not a top 5 at the moment in the league. But he's still a top 10 tight end who makes plays. He's a big body tight end like Gronk and Kelsey. You know, he's a playmaker. So you got 3 weapons and Eckler, 4 weapons ahead of him because Eckler does, get some passes out of the
Yeah,
backfield.
but the issue is that man drops the ball a lot.
Yeah, for Johnston.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So the Broncos go in. They go in and win by a touchdown.
Yeah. I think we all agree on that one.
Yes.
Yep.
Next up, I said it last time, and they were close then. This one's in Dallas. Eagles and Cowboys. I'm picking Dallas.
Nah.
Do I want to pick the
straight
Eagles just so
to the
Jose can be
point.
wrong twice?
Straight to it. I like it. I like the confidence. If only he had that much
As-
confidence with the ladies. Dun-dun.
Ouch.
Silence, Will.
Yeah.
Woo.
Feeling
I'm
spicy
just
tonight.
saying, in Philly, it was a close game. It was down to the last few seconds.
It
In
was a 4-point game.
Dallas, I think the Cowboys are winning.
I don't know. I think the Eagles will bounce back after a really rough game against the Niners.
That
And
is
yeah,
true.
sure. I just don't see the Eagles losing 2 in a row, especially to the Cowboys. I just don't see it happening. The Eagles are too good for that, and the Eagles can play very well against the Cowboys. And just like in the previous matchup, their offense was moving the ball really well against that Cowboys defense. Grant, the Cowboys offense also moved the ball well against the Eagles defense. So, I mean, this is obviously a divisional game, so it could go either way. It could be an offensive shootout, could it be a defensive showdown? Which one are we going to get? Well, the first time we got an offensive showdown. So what are we going to I don't know if we get a defensive showdown. I don't think that will happen, but I have to pick the Eagles on this one. I just don't see them losing 2 in a row. Their offense is just too good. The defense is also too good to be looking that bad. There's just no way. I'm sorry.
A part of me really wants to pick the Cowboys because, it is at home, and a split between these two teams wouldn't be anything crazy at all. I think a lot of people expect there to be a split. But Chris did bring up a good point, which is they just got beat down by the Niners. Do we really think they're gonna lose twice in a row? I don't know.
There's just
I
no
think
way.
I think and not to mention that the Cowboys, they did win last week and they played a good game, but it's not like they did more than squeak out a win against the Seahawks. I think I'll take the Eagles again. I'll just go with the Eagles sweep this season.
Attaboy.
I'll be the odd man out. Unless
Will
Will
hasn't picked.
sides
Again,
with me.
forgetting about me.
I
Really
said
acting like my father today.
I
and it's
said unless
atrocious.
you agree with me, and Paulo jumped in after I said that.
Run the tape. You
Run
did
the
not
tape.
finish
There was a
saying
good
it.
pause. There's a good pause there. He's still looking for the milk.
Jesus.
Man. These words are gonna taste horrible coming out of my mouth, and I can already feel it, just like this
No.
upset stomach. But
No,
I
no,
think
Will, don't go to the dark side.
no, because when we talked about this earlier in the year when they ended up playing them, even then I said it. I think I said it with Jose that if when it comes back to Dallas, that Dallas does have the potential to win it, depending on how their season went between those games, and it's gone fairly well for them. Like it really has. Besides, that close loss to the Eagles, and man, I do think they are gonna win. It is at home. that's a big advantage for them being able to play at home, especially against this Eagle teams. Yeah, I get what y'all are coming from. And there's no way the Eagles lose 2 in a row. But they just did not look good last week. The Eagles just did not anywhere on the ball. Like just didn't look good. Run game, passing game was all right. Like they just didn't look good, and the way that Cowboys defense, they're top 5, in the NFC, even in the you know whole league. I think the Cowboys do win. That defense is just playing really, really well, even with them losing their middle linebacker, their captain, and Leighton Vander Esch. But I do think they end up pulling this out. I think it's a split, just based on how they are playing. That offense is firing. Tony Pollard's picking back up. Dak's spreading the ball amongst everyone. He's not just looking for CD. He's looking at Brandon Cooks and Ferguson. Who they were wondering who was going to replace Dalton Schultz. And Jake Ferguson's come out of nowhere these last few weeks as a top target for him. So they do, but I think it's a touchdown. It's not going to be insane. It'll be kind of like it was in Philly. I feel like it'll be back and forth, defensively and offensively. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's not going to be low scoring. It'll be about the same. Now I need to go wash my mouth out with some mouth rinse.
You're so confident in
Yes,
this,
you
Chris.
go do that.
You're so confident in your pick.
I'm very confident. I
No,
just
no, I
don't
smell
see it
something
happening.
brewing.
You want to put
I
something on
smell
it?
something brewing. I knew it.
Mm.
Loser
All right.
buys the other guy lunch next week.
All right, you on? Let's do this again. I will buy you lunch if the Cowboys do win, but you have to buy me lunch if the Eagles win. And I'm
All right.
very confident that the Eagles will win. There you have it, folks. Second bet of the year between me and Jose.
Our second disagreement out of this week's thing. Once again,
And I'm pretty sure we're going to agree on the last two as well.
this is an interesting stat. Of our 2 disagreements, the 2 of y'all, Will and Jose, have agreed that neither one of last year's Super Bowl teams will have a comeback week, and they'll both lose 2 in a row.
What's that?
Interesting.
Chiefs?
Because y'all, the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an interesting stat.
Interesting stat. Put that on the
If
record.
I had a nickel,
Put it in the record books.
all right. Monday, there's 2 games Monday night.
There are 2 Monday night
Oh,
games.
wow.
Back to
Same
this
time
again.
as well. Same time is the thing. That's the key thing here.
Yep.
They are at the exact same time. No difference.
Yeah,
Who
I don't
the
know.
hell put it at the same time?
Not sure.
I want to know who picked the matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
First up, Titans Dolphins. Is there a question here?
No.
no.
Dolphins all day.
Yep.
Dolphins by 4 touchdowns.
I don't know
kidding.
about
Nah, come on, not this again.
Chill. Chill.
You wanna make a bet,
No.
Chris? If it's 4
Hey.
touchdowns, I'll buy you lunch. If it's not 4 touchdowns, you buy me lunch.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Easy.
No, realistically, I think obviously Dolphins will win. I think they'll win by at least 10.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
and
take the Dolphins as well.
It's a
The Dolphins are
no-brainer.
just too good.
The Titans are 1-4 in their last, 1-3 in their last 4 games. So,
Yeah,
and it doesn't
pretty
get
bad.
better, especially against this offense. I mean, you got Devon Achane back last week, and he showed why he should start over Mostert and Jeff Wilson. Once again, Tyreek and a Waddle. I mean, it's just.
What are you gonna
What
do?
discussion is there? Yeah. I mean,
It really
you're literally
is none.
you're taking a kindergartner and you're putting him up against a senior and you're telling him to box in the octagon, and it's just it's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking an NFL team and then putting it up against like an Olympic level NFL team.
It's just
Literally.
it really
On
is.
offense,
like-
at least. Like,
It's like you
Dolphins' offense is crazy. Sorry.
But
That-
let's think about it though. Dolphins have had their moments this season where they have just sputtered when they should not have. Like they have
But
looked,
only
Tua
against-
has looked, kind of funny, in some of these games here recently, and
Not
you
against a
hope
team
that
like the
doesn't happen.
Titans, though. That's against like the Chiefs or
I mean,
forget what other
against
team.
divisional opponents that have struggled, namely Jets and Patriots. Yeah, the Dolphins have struggled against both of them. Well, except for the last matchup the Dolphins had against them on Black Friday. But regardless of that, I just I don't see the Dolphins struggling whatsoever against this Titans team. They're just dumpster juice. They're just garbage. I mean, nothing's working for the Titans. They just can't beat anybody right now. What?
Tell me how the heck I'm scrolling through the NFL app here, and at the bottom it has like the odds of like some of these games. Tell me why the heck the Patriots are favored.
What?
It's just how it is.
I don't
But against who?
understand. The Steelers, they're
Like-
favored against the Steelers.
That's
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
a load of
honestly,
garbage.
that's not the craziest thing in the world because the Steelers ain't good either.
True.
They're favoring the Rams over the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What is
that's
that?
scuffed. I take it back.
Yeah.
They're
no.
favoring the Bears over the Lions.
Oh, who's coming up with these stats?
Are you sure you're not reading
I
it
don't
wrong?
think you're not. How are you reading it?
This one's favoring
How?
Jaguars
What are you
over the
reading?
Browns.
I don't think you know how to read.
I think you're
favorite.
naming all the opposites, so I think
I'm
you're
not.
just
Yeah.
reading it
I'm
wrong.
not.
There's
Okay.
no-
Because some
There's
are
no
some are
way.
right, and then there's those. I don't understand.
Is your phone upside down?
No.
Is there a
Because,
minus sign or a plus sign in front of the numbers?
There's both.
If it's a minus, that means they are favored. If it's a plus sign, they are the underdog.
Yeah, I'm reading it right then.
I don't know what
I
site
don't
you're on.
understand
But
that.
anyways,
I'm gonna have to investigate this later.
It might be different on yours, but that's what it's showing on mine. Let's move on though. Packers
Final
Giants for the
game.
last game of the week. I personally think Packers are winning this. They're on a hot streak.
I think so too. Packers have caught some fire. It's obviously too little, too late for them though. But they can slowly wrap this season up with a positive note. There's just no way they're losing to the Giants. This is no way. If they do, then shame on them, and how embarrassing. And we will be roasting them with smelted cheese as they are.
Smelted cheese.
Yes, I said that, smelted cheese. But yeah, the Giants they're just the Giants. They suck. There's nothing else to say about it. The Packers have caught some fire on offense. Defense has played better, and they've had some really good games recently. So I just don't see how they could lose to the Giants. So I'm taking the Packers by 7.
I'll take the Packers as well. The Giants, I like the Giants a little bit. Like Tommy DeVito is kind of like fun to root for a little bit. But the Packers have just like they're on the rise. They finally like figured things out. It looks like they just beat the Chiefs. So yeah, I don't really have many doubts that the Packers will win. But if the Packers lose, I will eat one cheese. This
You
is
would-
my promise to the
What?
fans.
Wait.
What
Will
do you
be
mean
smelted
one
cheese?
cheese?
It could theoretically be smelted.
Yes.
What do
we
you
got
mean
smelted
one cheese? A block of
I
cheese?
mean,
A piece of shredded cheese?
I will not elaborate.
If this man eats a block of cheddar cheese, that would be
I'm gonna show
hilarious.
up to his house with a wheel of cheese and just hand it to him.
But it should wait, hold on. It shouldn't be just cheese. It should be Limburger cheese.
Hmm.
Oh no, now you're trying to make it a punishment. I was just gonna eat a cheese.
Like how this man says a cheese.
A cheese, just one.
There's
A
many
singular
cheeses. This conversation is getting
cheese.
quite cheesy.
yeah, no, let's go ahead. Packers
on
gonna win it.
that note, let's wrap this conversation up.
Packers by 12.
12.
By 12.
What?
Specifically.
Well,
Okay, so if it's
By
not
4 field
12, you buy
goals.
me lunch. If it is
By
12, I
4
buy you
field
lunch.
goals. I'm not making that bet. I'm not part of this. I'll bring that over here.
12 points?
If it's not 12, you have to eat one cheese.
No,
Oh,
not part of this betting nonsense.
I want to say this for the record, so we have it for future reference. One day when we find a football field to actually try this out on,
Oh, yes.
Paulo believes that he can make a 40-yard field goal in one attempt. One try, that's all he gets.
Jose
Uh,
has designated the 40-yard field goal.
If he can make that 40-yard field goal in his one attempt, then I owe him a droid when we go to Disney World.
Yes, and you will also
Yes.
eat one cheese.
That was not
How
part of
about
the
this?
deal, but I'll eat cheese
Okay,
anyway.
how about this? If I make the 50-yard punt, you have to eat one cheese.
Tell you what, if you make the 50-yard punt, I'll buy us blue milk at the Star Wars land.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Cheesiest
And by us, I mean
conversation
me and
ever.
you. I'm not.
This conversation
yes.
be over.
Let's specify.
My head hurts.
Because we're full of cheese.
One cheese.
One cheese.
All right, I think that wraps it up for this week. Paulo, do you have anything special to take us out with?
What do you think,
Uh-oh.
Chris? What do we got? What do we got cooking?
Let's cheese it up.
Oh God.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.